Okay, so Polina, can you introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Polina. I'm from Ukraine. I need to pass the TOEFL exam on the speaking score 26 for transferring my pharmacy license from Ukraine to the United States. And that's what we are going to work on today.
Yes. Okay, so if you want to take the next about 1 minute to prepare, I will introduce myself and what we're doing in today's video. Okay, so while Polina is preparing, hey everybody, I'm Aaron from Speaking 26, where I show pharmacists how to get their 26 on TOEFL Speaking by showing how I got 30 on TOEFL Speaking. And today we are attacking question number 3. Aaron, why do you say attacking instead of doing or practicing? I say attacking because that's the attitude. We are confident in our answers because we have become so familiar with the format of the questions. So today we are attacking question number 3. It's going to ask us to explain a concept or explain some sort of idea. And with question number 3, we are going to integrate the reading and the lecture. We're going to combine, we're going to integrate those two things in our speaking answer. So when we listen to Polina's practice speaking answer for question number 3, let's see if you can hear her integrate the definition and the examples from the lecture. This is explaining. It's doing more than just summarizing. Okay, we'll see if Polina's ready here or if she would like some more time. Okay, Polina, do you want a 30-second timer to prepare and look over your notes?
Yeah.
Okay, you have 30 seconds to prepare. You may begin preparing now. Okay, so this is possibly a good time to be speaking if you want to quietly under your breath. Maybe use the 30 seconds as a first practice run.
Okay, so first we learn how to wash. When we learn how to wash hands, the steps are turning on the water, getting hands wet, using a soap, and then rinse off the water, rinse off the soap, and then
Time. Okay, you now have 60 seconds to give your answer. You may begin speaking now.
According to the reading, chaining behavior is when parents are trying to teach their children to do complicated tasks. They do it step by step, slowly teaching them one thing at a time. The professor gives us an example how he was teaching his daughter how to wash hands. For us, washing hands is something simple, like one task, but it's actually multiple tasks, like turning out the water, getting hands wet, using soap, and then rinsing off the hands, and then turning off the water. So the professor first taught his daughter how to turn on the water, and that's what they've been practicing for the next few days. Then he added wetting hands, and that's what they practiced for another few days, and so on. Slowly, step by step, his daughter learned all the tasks one after another, and after some practice, she was able to complete the whole process, and that's changing behavior.
Nice, very good. How do you feel about your answer? What parts do you like? What parts do you want to improve?
I think it was good. I like it. I liked it. I'm glad that I was able to express it with my own words. I did not get, like, I was not stick to my notes.
Yes.
Trying to read them. I honestly lost my notes, and then I just kept speaking.
Excellent. You lost maybe track of your notes, but you were still able to keep going.
Yeah, exactly. Because I remembered what's going on, what's the concept, and just kept speaking as from my understanding.
Excellent. That sounds like fluency to me. I'm very glad to hear that. Okay. So I think our mini debates have been helping with this, brainstorming quickly on the spot, and you did that nicely here. Okay, so speaking rate, you and I know that this is something that you have been improving. And here I like the pace. I like your speaking rate. Right now, when you just told me that you lost track of your notes, I had no idea. I couldn't tell during your speaking answer because your speaking rate remained consistently good.
Mhm.
Okay, and your topic development was organized, well structured. So let me come back to the notes here. I had no idea that you temporarily lost track of your notes. Okay, so let's look at what I wrote down, what I typed during your speaking answer, and then I have one suggestion to make, and I'll give a specific example of how we can make that improvement. So today, Paulina attacked question number 3. Boom, she opened up with the definition. Good. The specific words that I like that she said was complicated, referring to the complicated tasks, complicated behaviors. And I also like that she specifically said is when we break it down step by step. Very good, number 1 here. Number 2, you then went into the example from the professor. You listed the steps. I think you listed 1, 2, 3, all 5 of them, which that's a little bit of a waste of time, but not a huge deal because it didn't take you too long. And then
Mhm.
you went to number 3 and I put quote, I also like this part, quote, first, the professor taught her to turn on the water. This is key. He focused on step number 1. And I also like that you said for the next few days, they focused on that step. You are emphasizing, you are explaining that it's a step by step process. Very good. So here's my suggestion for improvement. I only have one small suggestion, but it would be, so on the integrating part, we could have, after you said this good thing, number 3 here, we could have integrated with the reading a little bit more. So how
Mhm.
would we do that, Erin? We would emphasize that. We would emphasize and paraphrase something like this from the reading. The professor did not move on step, the professor did not move on to step number 2 until his daughter fully mastered step number 1. And then he chained step number
Mhm.
1 and step number 2 together.
Mhm. Yeah, that will be a good thing to include.
Okay. So that's it. Everything else was very good. Topic development, delivery, language use. So I want to hear, what do you think about my suggestion? I want to see if you think that's a good suggestion, if you understand it fully, and if you now know how you can add that to your answer, if you think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. It is. It's definitely helpful for the score to add that integrating sentence that connects
Perfect. That,
reading and the speaking, the lecture.
yes, I like your word choice in describing it, to integrate the reading with the lecture, to connect those two just a little bit more, to show that connection a little bit more. So once again, I'll go back to the notes here. Okay, so I like when you said, okay, so let's look at number 3. This is a good place to put it. So this, I made sure to do a quotation mark here at the beginning because these were your exact words. First, he taught his daughter how to turn on the water, and they focused on this for the next few days. Now here's where I would add that part. And they focused on that for the next few days.
Mhm.
The professor did not continue until she mastered the first step, that's from the reading, and then he chained from the reading step number 1 with step number 2.
Mhm.
Okay, so that one long sentence that I added there is all from the reading. All right.
Mhm.
Okay, so how can I best help you get your 26 on TOEFL speaking next? Would you like to give a second answer on the same question? Do you want to hear my answer, or are you ready to move on to our mini debate for speaking practice?
Let's hear your answer.
Okay, can you give me a 30-second timer and then 60-second timer?
Yes. 30-second timer. Let me know when I should start.
You can start now.
Okay. Begin preparing now.
Explain the concept of chaining behavior. The most important part of this question is to explain the concept of chaining behavior. Beep. The concept of chaining behavior is when we teach a very complex behavior by breaking down the complex behavior into easier parts. The reading passage says that the child must first master the first step before moving on to the second step, and the second step is chained with the first step. Explain the concept of chaining behavior.
1 minute. You have now 60 seconds to speak. Begin speaking after the beep. Beep.
The concept of chaining behavior is when we teach a very complex behavior by breaking down the complex behavior into simpler, easier to do parts. The reading emphasizes the importance of somebody first learning the very first step, mastering it, before we move on to teach them the second step. And the second step is combined with the first step. The second step is chained to the first step. The first and second step are chained together. The professor talks about teaching his daughter how to wash her hands. He first taught her step number 1. For several days, she only turned on the water. When he felt that she mastered that, he then combined that with step number 2, getting her hands wet. And they only practiced step number 1 and step number 2 together, chained. This is how he went on to teach her the entire 5-step process of washing her hands. He didn't move on into the next step until she fully mastered the steps before, chained together.
You hear? Time.
Okay. Paulina, is there one thing from my answer that helps you improve your speaking answer?
Yes. Well, that be you used more advanced vocabulary. I felt that is more complicated and probably will get higher score than mine.
Okay. Do you remember a specific example? It sounds like we're talking about language use, maybe the way that I said a sentence.
The definition, how you described.
Okay.
I feel like it was more complicated than I did. I simplified it because that's all I could do.
Yeah. And that's okay. I remember when I listened to it, it sounded good to me.
And then, the emotion, it sounded persuasive.
Yes.
Sounded assertive.
Yes.
That's very, very important, and that's something I think I should that's how I should try to speak myself.
Good. My delivery, you said emotion, it sounded persuasive. When you said that, what I hear is that my focus is on explaining, not on summarizing the information I got, but instead doing more than that, which is taking the information I got and explaining. Not only do I fully understand that, but I'm going to show you how well I understand it by explaining it. So that's the persuasive tone that you hear.
And the person who listens to you, the creator, they understand better our responses when we deliver it emotionally.
Yes. Yes, when we have that good emotion, a passion, a strong confidence, an assertiveness to it. Yes. Yes. Good. Okay. You have been improving on that. For example, when you said that even though you lost track of your notes, you were still able to explain, you were still able to continue speaking, that shows that your fluency from the reading and listening part of the question, your fluency was high enough for you to still continue to deliver. All right, very good.
Thank you.
Okay. Polina, was this helpful for question number 3, which is often the question that I regard as the hardest question on TOEFL speaking? Was today helpful for question number 3?
Yes, yes, for sure. Helping.
Okay. When we go back and watch this to continue improving, can you tell me how was it helpful?
It helps me to look at the questions differently, to look not to little details, but at the question and the concept as a whole, one big thing.
Good.
So then you get the idea and you are able to explain it better.
Good.
Because before I thought that details are important because that's something that shows creators that you're listening, you're paying attention to little things, but I will be so focused on them that I will not get the whole sense of the task.
Right.
And sometimes maybe even run out of time because I will talk too much about details.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Before we went live, you said, we talked about speaking rate and fitting in the whole concept of the answer within 60 seconds. So this reminds me of the question where we didn't need to fall for the trap of everybody moving to the window side of the room. And today, in my answer, I didn't describe what step number 4 is or exactly what step number 5 is, because I needed my 60 seconds to answer the most important part of the question, explain the concept, and integrate it with the reading.
Yeah,
good.
When I started talking about the steps itself, I was like, oh my gosh, why did I start it? I will run out of time. But then there's no way back. Since I started, I got to continue. Okay, I hurry up.
Your answer was very good. I know you're going to pass TOEFL very soon.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, so I'll go back to your notes here. Overall, I really liked your answer. I can absolutely hear the progress that you've been making. And just a quick reminder on my one piece of advice would be, after this good part that you said that I quoted, that would be a good time to tie in the exact words from the reading. So how I did that, something like, next few days, the professor did not move on to all the other steps. Instead, he waited for her to master that, and then he combined step number 1 with step number 2.
Yeah, that was good.
All right, very good. Okay, all right. So to sharpen our brainstorming skills and to improve our speaking stamina so that we are ready for the official TOEFL speaking test, let's move to the mini debate part. And we have 2 topics to choose from today. Let's start looking at those and see which one you want to do and which side of the debate you want.
So, was it about eating healthy?
Sort of, yes. One of them is, so do you agree that people today have healthier lifestyles than they did 100 years ago?
Okay.
Or we can do spending our free time alone or with other people.
Oh, I don't know. Both of them are good. Which one to choose?
Which one will help you get your 26 on TOEFL speaking faster?
Let's do by myself or with friends, because I've already worked before with healthy lifestyle.
Okay, you got it.
Question.
Sure. And which side of our mini debate for speaking practice would you like? Do you want to take the side of free time alone or free time with friends? With other people, family and friends?
Free time alone.
All right, Polina will take the side of she prefers to spend her free time alone, which means I will take the side of I prefer to spend my free time with family and friends. And as a reminder to the viewers, Paulina and I do not necessarily feel one way or the other about this issue. This is for speaking practices only. All right, so let's prepare. Let me know as soon as you're ready and I'll do the same. Okay, I'm just about ready. I can go first if you'd like.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so for speaking practices, to improve the quickness of our brainstorming, thinking on the spot, to give counter arguments, and to sharpen our advanced speaking skills, we will have a mini speaking debate right now. The topic is it better to spend our free time alone, or is it better to spend our free time with other people like family and friends? All right. I prefer to spend my free time with other people, such as my family and friends, Paulina. The reason why I prefer this is because while I have happy moments without my family and friends, the biggest, the overall happiest moments come with other people. So whether that's remembering a funny story from years ago or enjoying current movies, the happiest moments come with other people, my family and friends.
So, yeah, I can understand that. But I remember I recently read a philosophy book, and one of the famous Greek philosophers say that the happiness is within ourselves. So the person will never be happy until he find happiness within himself. That's what I think is the best. I personally feel the happiest when I'm by myself, because I don't like being dependent on others. I don't need anyone else for me in order to be happy. I am my own boss, and I decide when I want and what I want to do. And if I want to be happy, I will be happy, and I don't need anybody for that.
Okay, I heard the good points that you made, and I agree with the quote that you said, which is happiness comes from within ourselves. Yes, a younger version of myself, let's think to, around 20 years old. Let's think to a few years after graduating high school. A lesser developed Aaron wouldn't say what I'm saying today, which is that it's better to spend my free time with other people, such as family and friends. Back then, I still needed, and I still do today, but back then, I still needed to develop myself much, much more. So back then, at an earlier phase in life, it was more important for me to spend my free time alone. Well, I had so much work to do on myself, and I still have work to do, but back then it was even more. Now today, in my mid-30s, I am able to bring that happiness that I have developed within and share it with other people. That's why I prefer to have my free time be in the company of others.
Okay, yeah, I can get your point, but for me personally, the best I feel the most productive when I'm by myself. For example, I've been studying for the TOEFL a lot, and the best writing ideas that I get, they come when I am sitting by myself without anybody. When there are people around, I get distracted and I don't get anything done. Whereas when I'm by myself, I feel like the best things that I can create come out of me. That's why I think being by myself for me is definitely better.
All right. So it sounds like you said two key things I heard you say was most productive and your most creative ideas come when you're by yourself. There are less distractions. Yes, I certainly like to have my alone time for journaling and planning about the future. And I do those things by myself. But then once I've done that, it's great to collaborate with other people, to hear the advice of my friends that I respect and trust the most, to hear their objective perspective on my creative ideas, on the productive work that I'm about to go full steam ahead with.
That might be a good point, but it's not necessarily the same about how I feel. I feel like I personally introvert and I get energized when I spend time alone. I get really tired being around a lot of people, like at the parties. I feel exhausted after that and need some time to recover. That's why I never go there and prefer to spend time on my own, because for me it is a waste of energy when I am around a lot of people.
Okay, very good. We can look to end it here. I think I have one more thing to say, a question to ask you to challenge your speaking and brainstorming. So I heard what you said about being an introvert and you get recharged when you get to have your alone time. Good. So my question is, and I don't know the answer, I want to ask you for speaking purposes. Paulina, is that something that you want to expand? So you said you're naturally an introvert and you get recharged from alone time. Is that something that you want to expand to be able to also get energy from being more extroverted, or maybe not? Maybe you prefer to be recharged from isolated activities.
I tried personally, but the activities that involved a lot of people will eventually just make me feel tired, and it never worked for me. I find myself, as I said before, more productive and more energized, and sometimes even more happy when I am by myself. I tried a lot of different ways, but those are the points that I made from my own experience that I found work the best for me.
All right, very good. You know yourself and what works best for you based on experience. Cool. Okay. Unless there's anything else to say, I'm going to look to end this live stream and then you and I can continue. All right, everybody, thank you for watching. If you want more information, check the description in the video. I'll